Welcome everybody. All right, let's go ahead and let's make this game here. So let's call this chroma avoid here. And what this is going to do, or we could call it color collecting game. And I add in for iPhone, and we'll make it, I added a production number to this. All right, so you can go ahead and create your project here. Let's go ahead and let's run it. And while it's running, we can click the game scene.swift and close up these two brackets here. All right. You always want to run it just to make sure everything's working. All right, there we go. Everything works out quite nicely. Now I'm going to delete all the extraneous code because there's some code in here. And it makes sense to delete the code because it's one of the only Xcode projects that will actually go and give you code. So let's start making our game here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our var player and make that equal to sk sprite node, and we'll add in a var. We'll call this dark block. Make it equal to an sk sprite node. Now, one thing I like to do is like to copy and paste. So if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, it makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker. And light block, sk sprite node. Let's add in the sizes to this here. So let's add in var player size is equal to cg size. And this is how you added a cg size with a width and a height. And the width will be 60. And you don't have to make it a square, but I like making it a square. And we're going to go and type in block size is equal to cg size. And we'll make this one fairly small, 15 by 15. Okay. We'll add in another variable here. We'll call this LBL main, and we'll make that equal to an sk label node. And an sk label node will display text on the screen. So let's add in another LBL score is equal to sk label node, and that will add in the score here. Let's add in another variable. We'll call this block speed, and we're going to show how fast the block speed is, and this is going to be in seconds. 2.5 is good, and you'll see you can change it later if you wish. But we'll add in block spawn time and make that equal 0.2. Okay, and we'll also add in an isAlive variable, and you need to keep track of whether the player is alive or not. So, for example, you don't want to keep spawning. You won't want to keep spawning the enemies or the blocks when the player is dead or is alive is not equal to true, or you don't want to be able to move the player while is alive is equal to 2, and you have to store that data within a variable. We'll add a variable here. We'll call this score is equal to 0, and then we'll also add in an off black color, and we'll make that equal to UI color. Okay, UI color, and we'll add in an RGBA value. So I'm going to add in 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, and 1.0. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to make our color a dark gray. I like using dark grays because black is too standard. And when colors aren't standard, they tend to be a little bit, they tend to pop a little bit more. So we're going to call this off white color. And we're going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to say UI color, and it's going to say RGBA value. This time we're going to make it 0.95. And we'll say 1.0. And what we'll do is we will add in some more items here that work specifically with the game here. So for example, we could add in a background color custom, and we'll just make it equal to UI color.orange color. All right. Now we need to add in a drag touch location, and we'll make that equal to a CG point. And we're going to set the drag location as a global variable. And remember, I like to declare most of my variables outside the class because that way I can use the data across the board here. If I set it up within a curly bracket, I can only use it within that curly bracket. All right, so we're going to say is light color is equal to true. Okay, and we're going to say var is color change logic var is equal to true as well. And what we'll do is we'll say is color change is equal to true. And we also need to add in some timers here. So we'll say var color change time is equal to 10.0. And then we're going to add in a color change time counter number, and we'll make that equal to 10. And I'll explain this when we have when this actually works here. And since we have physics, let's set up our physics struct here. So we'll say struct, we'll add in a physics category, and then here we'll add in a static let player. It's of type uint32, and the reason is that the physics category with the physics is a uint32, and we'll get into that when we talk more about physics, but right now we're just setting this up. We're going to add in a static let, and then we're going to call this dark block, and we're going to make it a uint32, make it equal to 0, and we also have a static let light block, make it a uint32, make it equal to 0 as well. Okay, so we have a uint32, and essentially this is what we need to start making our game. All right, before we move on here, let's add in our physics. So next to skc, we're going to say sk physics contact delegate, and in our did move to view, we are going to add in the physics world. Okay, physics world dot contact delegate is equal to self, and this will allow us to add in physics to our world. Okay, so this concludes the tutorial.